Now, lifting mood like a coaching master. This is the third installment of the lives that I'm doing. I'm doing 3 lives. The one on Monday was all about how to handle overwhelm. Yesterday's live was all about how to stay focused. And today's live is all about how to lift your mood and lift the mood of the people around you. Because from Monday, we know what we need to focus on in order to not be overwhelmed. From yesterday, we know how to focus on those things we need to focus on. And today is going to be all about how we can lift our mood and lift the mood of the people around us so we can feel good about what we're doing on a daily basis, which of course is very, very vital in this strange situation we find ourselves in. There are going to be lots of people that need this today because quarantine can be difficult, right? Quarantine is naturally restrictive, of course, right? There are elements of it which are very restrictive. And as humans, we don't like to be restricted. We like to be free in all senses of the word. We like to be emotionally free. We like to be mentally free. We like to be physically free. We like to be able to do what we want, when we want, how we want, and we like to be able to venture out into the big wide world, especially people in this community. Because if you're in this community, you had already made a statement by saying you want more from life. You made a big statement by saying that you want more for yourself and you want to be able to help other people achieve more. Hence why you are a coaching master, right? And that's why you're here. So it's going to be difficult for us, maybe even more so than it is for other people, because we like to be free. We like to help others. We like to explore. We like to stretch our wings, and we like to be able to go out there and do good in the world and make an impact in the world. And at the moment, it feels that we are contained, but there is still a huge opportunity for you guys to do that, right? This session is all about how to lift mood like a coaching master. And when I say that, I'm talking about lifting your mood, and I'm talking about lifting the mood of the people around you, because we're human, right? We constantly have people around us. Even those of us that live alone, or those of us that sometimes feel like we're alone a lot of the time, we're still living on this planet, and on that planet, within this country, and within this country, within that city or town, and within that city or town, we live on that street, and on that street, we live in that building. And in that building, it may or may not be other people, but there are other people on all of those other levels that I just spoke about, down the street, in the town, in the city, in the country, around the world. We are inevitably surrounded by other people a lot of the time. So it's important to be able to lift the mood of those people around us, as well as lifting our own mood. However, having said that, like when you get onto an airplane, and they say at the very, very beginning during the safety briefing that if the oxygen masks drop, make sure you put your own mask on first before you help anyone else. There is a very good reason for that. And that is because if you are out of oxygen, you are going to be useless to everybody else. So you must supply yourself with oxygen first before you are able to help another person. This is exactly the same as that. You need to be able to deal with your own overwhelm. You need to be able to stay focused, and you need to be able to lift your own mood. If you do that for yourself, you are going to be in a much stronger position to do it for other people. So never, even when things are really, really busy and you've got your family around you and there are people that are in need, and there are always people that are in need. There are always people that we should endeavor to help all around the world all the time, but we cannot help them unless we put ourselves in a position where we're able to help them. And we're only able to do that if we look after ourselves. So that's very much what this is about, right? This is very much about looking after ourselves so we are able to then look after other people. And one of the ways of doing that is by keeping your mood very, very high, right? I like to think about mood almost like a frequency, right? Now, there's a law that I learned about a while ago, and I've spoken about this a couple of times, I believe, on a couple of lives, but there inevitably will be people that haven't heard me talk about this. Now, it's called the Law of Sympathetic Resonance. Now, for me, the law of sympathetic resonance, which is a law that exists within the world of music, explains in scientific terms the reason as to why the law of attraction and positive thinking and constructive thinking and high energy it all works, right? It fucking straight up works. I can say that from firsthand experience. But it gives an explanation as to why that stuff is so important. So let me tell you about the law of sympathetic resonance. And there's a reason why I'm telling you about this, because it very much relates to mood, right? And the mood that we find ourselves in. So this is how it works. If you take two pianos and you put them in the same room, if you play the C note on one of those pianos, the C note string will start to vibrate, right, at a certain frequency in order to play the note, which is the note C. The C note string on the other piano, even though you've not touched the key, will also start to vibrate at the exact same frequency. The reason for that is because when two things are vibrating at the exact same frequency, they try to move closer towards each other. So they will do everything they possibly can to try to move close towards each other like a magnet, right? So why is that significant? And why in this law of music would that relate to us and our mood? It relates to us because we now know that everything has a frequency. Everything has a certain vibration, a certain resonance. The physical things that exist within your world, this desk in front of me, my physical being, the books on this bookshelf, but not only that, also the things that you don't see, like thoughts and feelings and intentions and even ideas. They have a certain frequency within this universe that we live. So what you want to be doing is you want to be trying to resonate at a high frequency more often than not, because high frequency things attract high frequency things. And things that vibrate at a high frequency are things like love and forgiveness and openness and all of that good stuff, right? Those positive emotional states, they vibrate at a high frequency. And if you're vibrating up here at a high frequency, what's going to be trying to make its way towards you? Other high frequency things, good things, things we want in our life, high emotional states, good people, good places, good things, good events, everything that we consider to be good things. If you're vibrating at a low frequency and your frequency is hate and jealousy and backstabbing and bitching and all of that crap, right? If you're vibrating at a low frequency, you are going to attract low frequency things to you. So do you ever not think it's a coincidence how those people that spend their time gossiping and commenting and backstabbing and bitching and moaning and complaining always seem to be the unluckiest people you've ever met? And they can never seem to fucking catch a break. That's because they're vibrating at a low frequency, just like it's the law of sympathetic resonance. So it's just like the keys on that piano. So why is this significant? Because we want to find ways of vibrating at a higher frequency at a time in our lives where it would be very easy to vibrate at a low one. That is fucking key, right? I can promise you it's absolutely key to see us through any form of upset or any form of like social mishap or whatever, the situation we find ourselves in now especially. It's to see us through that so we can sail through it, vibrating at a high frequency with a high mood, feeling good, and then we'll come out the other end fucking winning, right? So there's a few ways that you can do it, right? In fact, there are fucking hundreds of ways that you can do this, but I've just noted down a few because I thought to myself, what are some of the ways? What are some of the things that I do when I want to get my frequency up, when I want to start vibrating at a much higher frequency than I am right now, right? There's one thing that I do, and I love this. I do this with all of my clients as well. I get them to create what I call an energize list compared to a drain list, right? Now, the whole idea of this is I want you to, and guys, do this after the live, right? Because this will take a little bit of time. But again, much like I said on Monday and yesterday, do take the time to do this, because I promise it will have an effect and it will make you feel a lot better, right? So after this live, do some of these exercises. So the first one is writing an entire list of all of the things that drain you. What drains your energy, right? What has you feeling like absolute shit, right? What properly zaps your enthusiasm and your energy? What has you vibrating at a low frequency, right? For me, like if I think about it now, I'll write down things like gossiping, bitching, being indoors for too long, not getting enough fresh air, not getting enough sunlight, which again, this is why this is so important, because in the situation we find ourselves in, you know what they said in terms of on the news, like you can go outside for one exercise a day. You fucking do that, right? Even just to get outside. But anyway, we'll come on to that in a minute. These are just these are unique to me, I guess. These are just my things. It will be eating junk food. It will be I'm literally visualizing, doing a bit of NLP here, visualizing me writing this stuff down. It'll be not getting enough sleep. It will be sleeping in for too long and not getting up early. It will be not exercising. It'll be not expressing any form of gratitude, which we're going to talk about in a minute. There'll be loads of stuff, right? If I really stop and think about it, I'll be able to write an entire list of things that absolutely drain my energy and have me vibrating at a low frequency, right? So I want you guys to do that. That was just a few things off my list. Your list is going to be completely unique to you, right? So you want to write a completely exhaustive list of all the things that drain you. And then, put that to one side, shake it off, stand up, move around the room, fucking forget about that. Then what you want to do is you want to write a list of things that energize you, things that excite you, things that have you vibrating at a high frequency, things that you love, things that will get you jumping up off the sofa just at the sheer idea of being able to either do them or see them or listen to them, right? Things that really energize you, things that get your blood pumping, things that you love, right? Mine is like good conversation, like interesting conversation. I absolutely love that. Another one is listening to good music, listening to podcasts. Another one is exercising. Another one is sunrises, early mornings. Another one is drinking enough water and eating clean food. If I really think about it, I'm like, yeah, I can create an entire list of things that fully energize me. So the first thing that you want to do in terms of lifting your mood, now it seems oversimplified, but I fucking promise you, this is one of the best exercises you can do. You take that drain list, you take that energize list, you stop doing the things that are on the drain list, and you start doing the things that are on the energize list. It seems like bizarrely simple, right? But this isn't the sort of thing that we consciously find ourselves doing on a daily basis. Quite the contrary. A lot of the time, especially in difficult situations, we seem to find ourselves partaking more in the things that are on the drain list. And I'll tell you why. Those things, 9 times out of 10, are always easier, right? That's the fucking trick. That's where they get you. Is those things on the drain list, most of the time, are easier to partake in than those things on the energize list. But where it's easier to go and eat McDonald's rather than creating a really nice, healthy meal that's full of greens, one of them in the long term and the short term is going to fuck you up and make you feel like shit. And one of them is going to make you feel good. But the good one takes more energy, more time and more effort and more thought, but so much more worth it, right? So step number 1 is just gaining an understanding, right? Gaining an understanding over what is on that drain list and what is on that energize list, so that you can be consciously aware, right? Consciously aware of what one you want to avoid and what one that you want to do more of, right? So that's step number 1. Another good thing is asking yourself what we call in the coaching world scale questions. Now, for those of you who have been exploring the brand new membership here at the Coaching Masters, right, you will see that within the Become a Coach section, there is an entire coaching foundation as part of the membership, right? Now, for anybody that's been going through that, you're now going to have learned what scale questions are. Scale questions are where you scale things from 1 to 10, right? With 1 or 0 to 10, with 0 being really bad and 10 being really good, or at least 0 being really low and 10 being really high. Ask yourself one of the most important questions. How do I want to feel, right? Ask yourself that question after this live. How do I want to feel? Some of you might say energized. Some of you might say forgiving. Some of you might say excited. Some of you might say loving. Some of you might just keep it simple and just say positive. I just want to feel positive, whatever, right? Then ask yourself, on a scale of 0 to 10, what's your current experience? Like, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you feel that way right now? Now, you might say, okay, well, obviously in this current situation, I would say, answer that question. How do you want to feel? I want to feel energized. On a scale of 0 to 10, how energized do you feel? It's probably a 6, right? Then the key is to ask yourself, what would take your level of energy, or what would take that scale from a 6 to a 10? The answer to that question is where the real golden nuggets lie. Because if you can sit there and say, I want to feel energized, and at the moment on a scale of 0 to 10, I feel 6 out of 10 energized. And then you ask yourself, what would it take to transfer that 6 to a 10? What would need to happen to take that 6 and turn it to a 10? And then you stop and you think, well, actually, in order to take my level of energy from a 6 to a 10, I would need to do this, 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 and this. That's it. They are your golden nuggets. You have gone inside of your own mind and asked yourself a question in order to find the answer, and for your own subconscious mind to tell you these are the things you need to do to go from a 6 to a 10. These are the things you need to do in order for you to feel better. This is where you're coaching yourself now, right? Scale questions and then asking what needs to happen to take that from a 6 to a 10, or a 4 to a 10, or a fucking 3 to a 10, whatever. Never underestimate the power of your own mind. Most of the time, you have the answers contained within you and within your subconscious mind. You just need to be asking yourself the right questions. A lot of the time, you have the answer. And scale questions are a really good way of doing that. Also, think about how powerful that's going to be when you ask one of your family members that exact same question. You see that one of your family members, they need their mood lifted, right? You see they're feeling down. You see that they're being, that everything's going on in the world at the moment is starting to, dig their claws into them and drag them down, and their mood's being dragged down, and they're starting to get out of bed a little bit later, and they're not quite eating right. And you see they're not actually getting dressed and doing their hair in the morning. And it's like, right, this person, they need a lift. They need a boost. They need their mood lifted. They need to be vibrating at a higher frequency. Go and ask them. You start off with another person, how are you feeling? And they'll tell you. Then you ask them, how do you want to feel? Then ask them, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you feel like that at the moment? They go, I don't know, a 5. Then you ask them, what would need to happen to take that 5 to a 10? And they will tell you. They will come up with an answer. And that's absolute gold, because those people are literally telling you, right? And this is a good coaching tip as well. Those people are telling you exactly what needs to happen that is unique to them to allow them and their mood to be lifted. Absolute gold. So focus on scale questions. The other one that you can do, and this is really good for when you're trying to lift the mood of another person, is asking sensory-based memory questions. Now, this is one that is absolute gold for those elderly family members who are anxious and worried about the state of the world, who are anxious and worried about what's going on at the moment, right? This is good for people that are feeling anxious or worried or feeling any negative emotional state they don't want to be feeling at any time. What normally happens is, to make chit chat, right? People tend to talk about what's going on in the world at the moment. So you can pretty much guarantee that the majority of conversations that are occurring at the moment will be about the virus, right? And even when this has come and gone and there's something else to talk about, there's something else to worry about, there's some other form of current events that's being plastered all over the news that drags people's mood down, you can pretty much guarantee that the majority of conversations that are going on across the dinner table or over the phone, if you're phoning one of your elderly relatives or a family member, the conversation most of the time will be about what's going on in the world at the moment, because it's very easy to talk about that. So to break that pattern and to lift the mood of the person that you're speaking to, you want to ask them a sensory-based memory question, such as, tell me about the happiest day of your life. And you will fucking shock people when you ask them that question, right? You go to your mum and your dad or your grandma, your grandpa, or anyone like in your family that you feel needs a mood lifted. But the reason I'm focusing here on the elderly relatives is because at the moment, what I've recognized and what I've witnessed and what I've observed is that they are consistently and constantly watching the news, and are getting more and more and more worried about the state of the world. And they're the ones whose memories go much further back and take a little bit of digging out, however, are so unbelievably valuable because they probably haven't thought about them for a long time. So when you rock up, or I almost said knock on their door yet, but with everything that's going on in the world at the moment, when you rock up to your grandpa's place or your grandma's place and you're talking to them through the window, or you just phone them, ask them that instead of saying, oh, have you seen the news? Yeah, this is the death toll. Yeah, this is the amount of cases that's going on. Say to them, by the way, Grandma, tell me about the happiest day in your life. I've never asked you this before, but I'm interested. Tell me about the happiest day of your life. What's one of the happiest memories you've got? Tell me about a time where you felt really excited. Tell me about a time where you were in such an incredibly good mood. It felt like everything was working out perfectly. You're asking these questions to try to tap into these parts of their mind, which they maybe haven't accessed for a while. But the reason it's so powerful is because as soon as you ask a question to another human, their brain then goes into Google mode in order to find the answer to that question, whether they want to or not, whether they like it or not. So as soon as you ask someone a question, that person can't help but try to think of an answer. So the second you go up to an elderly relative, and it doesn't have to be an elderly relative, I'm just using that example because, like I said before, they're the ones probably consuming the most amount of news and they're really worrying about stuff. But this could be anyone. This could be your kids as well. Like this will be valuable for anyone whose mind and mood you want to start to guide in a much more positive, high frequency direction. Ask them questions that will guide their focus towards that kind of thought process. Tell me about the happiest day of your life. Tell me about something you really love. Tell me about something that really excites you. What puts you in a really good mood? Just you're guiding that person's attention. So there's no right or wrong answers when it comes to the questions. Just get creative with the questions, right? And ask whatever it is you want to ask. The next thing, in order to be able to lift your mood, is gratitude, right? Now, gratitude is like the big daddy of emotional states. Gratitude is the one, right? Without a doubt, for everything that I've learned, right? Everything that I've learned on my journey so far, just as a person and a coach, I have come to the conclusion that gratitude is at the top of the pyramid of things that create a positive emotional state. The top of the pyramid. It's almost like this magic emotional state that just can't be fucked with once you tap into it, right? It's almost impossible to be in a bad mood or to be vibrating at a low frequency when you're also consciously aware of what you're grateful for. It is an incredible tool to utilize, right? Getting in touch with what you're grateful for is your one-way ticket, your fast track ticket to lifting your mood is gratefulness and gratitude. So there's loads of different ways that you can exercise gratitude, right? Loads of different ways. But one very powerful way is to just sit down with a pen and paper and write down through a stream of consciousness, everything that you're grateful for. Absolutely everything. Just get it all down on paper, one after another, after another, after another, after another. And I promise you, when you reread that list, rereading the list alone and writing the list alone will lift your mood. Because these are things that are very, very important to remember. And these are things that I can guarantee are getting forgotten about. And there is a reason why they get forgotten about, right? This is the reason. Good things tend to repeat themselves, whereas negative things tend to happen quite drastically and unexpectedly. You combine that with the fact that our ancient brains are wired to search for negativity, because negativity back in the day meant danger, whereas positivity, comfort, love, and all of those good things didn't result in danger. Therefore, we didn't need to consciously think about them as much. Then you realize it's so easy to forget about the things that you're deeply grateful for, right? One, because our brain isn't wired to look for them. And secondly, they repeat themselves every day. Therefore, we don't pay them much attention. What do I mean by that when I say they repeat themselves every day, right? There was this study that I read about ages ago, right? Ages ago. And it was about how they took a group of Shaolin monks and they put them in a room, and they took a group of completely normal people and they put them in another room. And there was nothing in either room, right? Both rooms were completely empty, apart from a clock that was ticking. And it was ticking and ticking and ticking. And they hooked everyone up with all their vitals machines just to be able to study them, or whatever the details were of this study. They realized that the monks were consciously aware of every single tick of the clock. Every single time it ticked, they knew it ticked. They were aware of it. Whereas the normal everyday people, after about 7, 8, maybe 10 ticks of the clock, they were no longer consciously aware that the clock was ticking. We can all relate to this. We've all got clocks in different rooms in our house that tick on a constant basis. We don't constantly hear it. Like as soon as you walk into the room, that sound's pretty much gone. The reason for that is because your normal everyday person like me and you guys, we very, very quickly block out things that repeat themselves again and again and again and again and again, because our brain is telling us that we no longer need to pay attention to it. Why is that significant? It's significant because all of these incredible things that we really should be deeply grateful for every single day repeat themselves. I have got clean water coming out of my tap in the kitchen. That is phenomenal. That is a fucking miracle, right? There are parts of this world where somebody would consider that to be a miracle. And the reason it's easy to not consciously think about how fucking great that is every day is because it repeats itself every day. I've got my mind, I've got my body, I've got my health, I've got my wife, she has her health, I've got my business, I'm breathing okay. You know what it's like when you get an ulcer on your tongue and you think back and you think how fucking good life was before you had that ulcer. And you're like, I never appreciated how good my life was before I got that ulcer on my tongue. I suffer from migraines, and at the moment, I don't have one. That's incredible. That's a miracle. But because these things repeat themselves, we forget about them. So what you want to do is you want to consciously remind yourself of all of the things that you are deeply grateful for, right? Even if they seem like everyday things, like there's clean water coming out your tap. Deeply connect with the fact that if there was no longer clean water coming out your tap, you wouldn't give a shit about cars or money or clothes or you wouldn't care about anything. You wouldn't care about anything until there was clean water coming out of that tap, right? Because as soon as we boil it all the way down to essentials like food and water, if those things are taken away from us, all of a sudden everything else is meaningless and we just want them. It's the same with our health. As soon as our health is taken away from us, we look back on our healthy life and we think, God, I took that for granted. So we want to fucking stop that right now, because this is your one-way ticket of lifting your mood. Create a list of every single thing that you are deeply, deeply grateful for, right? And they will be things that repeat themselves on a constant basis, but you must remind yourself of them. Make a point of picking the top 3 things on that list and reminding yourself of those 3 things every single morning when you wake up. Every single morning. Because if you get into the habit of doing that, you wake up, you remind yourself of the top 3 things you're deeply grateful for, and you realize that everything else that happens in life past that point is fucking bonus round. It's just a bonus round. Everything else is a bonus as long as you have these things that you're deeply grateful for. And gratitude is your one-way ticket to lifting your mood, right? That's a really important one. I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you guys during this, during this live, but make notes and act on it afterwards. A few very, very simple ones, right? Because I know that was a significant one that I just handed over in terms of gratitude. But there are some smaller ones, but are oh so important. Keep active, keep moving your body, even when you feel contained, even when you feel restricted. There's an unbelievable amount of resources out there in terms of home workouts, home movements. Just move your body, because your body is intrinsically connected with your mind, your soul, your whole being, especially your organs. You've got to get all this stuff moving. You have to move your body in order to lift your mood. Smiling as well, right? This is an incredible one. Whenever you're not in a good mood, whenever you want to lift your mood, whenever you want to be more vibrating at a higher frequency, smile as you reread that gratitude list, right? That goes a very long way. And dancing as well. Even if it's shutting yourself away in a different room so you don't feel embarrassed, put a little bit of music on and dance. Even dance to no music. Get your body moving and create that connection between your body and your mind that will allow yourself to lift your mood. Another one that works for me is decluttering as well. We've all got an opportunity here to declutter now that we're at home. A cluttered environment creates a cluttered mind without a shadow of a doubt. And you want your mind clear to be able to focus on the things that makes you feel good, the things that you're grateful for. Doing nice things for other people. This is a big one as well. This one's significant. There are so many times where we feel like we're too busy, right? There's too many things that need to be done. Now, of course, it's very important, like I said at the beginning, that you put your own oxygen mask on first before you help anybody else, because otherwise you'll be useless to everybody. But as you start to go through this process and you think about the 3 lives that we've done over the last few days, you start to be able to handle that overwhelm. You know what to focus on. You're able to focus due to yesterday's live. And now you're able to lift your mood. You're feeling in a much, much better place. You're in a much better position than you were before. Then start to help other people as well. Start doing nice things for other people. Because I can tell you from firsthand experience now that doing things for other people completely out of the blue and unexpectedly is one of the best ways of fast tracking your mood and raising your frequency and raising your vibration. There just seems to be something in it. It's difficult to explain. I know that we're obviously humanitarian, we're humans, we want to look after each other, but there is something that almost elevates itself above that when you do for other people and you give to other people and you show that kind of love and appreciation, it really does something to our own mood as well. So, there's something almost selfish about it, but that's fine because you both get something from the exchange. You get to do something for somebody else and you get to feel a lot better. So that's a significant one. The one I'm going to leave you guys with, right? I just think is one of the coolest things ever, right? So I'm going to be bringing up these links and I want you guys to write this down because I think this is one of the coolest things I think I've ever found, right? So there are 3 links that I want you to write down. I want you to write down happynews.com. The other one is goodnewsnetwork.org. And the last one is dailygood.org. So I posted those links, right? The reason that these are significant is because these are good news networks, right? So for those of you that really feel like you want to consume the news, fine. But if you consume this generic everyday news that we get force fed, 100% of the time, it will be bad news, right? 100% of the time, because that's the news, right? As we know it, the news. And what I highly, highly, highly recommend is you start to consume some good news, right? And these 3 links that I've just posted are essentially like online news networks that only provide good news. They only provide news about things that is going well, right? It's going well. Awesome, guys. Go and consume some good news, right? So just to recap on today, what you want to do is you want to write your energized list versus your draining list. And you want to do more of the energized list and do less of the drain list. You want to ask yourself scale questions. How do I want to feel? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do I feel that right now? And what do I need to do to get me to a 10? You want to ask those around you, especially the elderly people that might be very much worried about the whole situation. Tell me about the happiest day of your life. Describe your happiest memory to me. Tell me about a day that really stands out to you that you absolutely loved and you felt good and you felt excited and you felt energized. You'll really shock them with that one. But I can guarantee you'll also see a massive smile put on their face instantly. Practice gratitude. That is the biggest piece of advice I could possibly give anybody when it comes to, ignore Daily Mail. Yeah, that's absolutely fucking right, Giles. Ignore all that shit. That's the biggest bit of advice I can give anybody is express and practice gratitude. Get active, smile more, dance more, declutter your home. And look at those daily good news sites because that will guide your own attention in the right direction. That will allow you to vibrate at a high frequency. And what will happen is you will attract other high frequency things towards you when you do that.